Okay, hello 500 block of Clematis Street. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, but more important, it's Friday in downtown West Palm Beach, which means it's time for another edition of The Reporters. I'm Joe Capozzi.
And I'm Joel Englehart. And we are coming to you live from Respectable Street Cafe in the 500 block of Clematis, right across the street from Subculture Coffee, which is owned by our sponsor, the Subculture Group. Joe and I are both longtime journalists with nearly 60 years of combined experience just at the Palm Beach Post. We left the Post almost 2 years ago, and since then, we each launched local news websites. Mine is ongardens.org, which covers news of Palm Beach Gardens in North County. And here's Joe to tell you about his.
Yeah, mine is being lazy. I couldn't think of a better title, so I called it byjoecapozzi.com, my byline, the byline that I used for 30 years. And I just write stories that I think are interesting, stories that I would have written if I was still working for a full-time newspaper. But there's an audience for it, and people enjoyed them. And one of those stories I did for my website was earlier this year. And the subject of that story is one of our two guests today. His name's John Ace. He's a seasonal resident of West Palm Beach. He lives on a boat in the Intercoastal Waterway, docked right off Clematis Street. If you've been to the Greenmarket on Saturdays at the east end of Clematis, chances are you've seen him and heard him. As a matter of fact, he sounds like this. Introduce yourself, sir.
Well, you already did. I'm John Ace.
That's
Originally from Pennsylvania, and now I divide my time between Virginia and West Palm Beach, Florida.
Fantastic. And our other guest is another talented street musician. He also plays outside the Greenmarket. His name is Steve Ostrander, and he sounds like this. Fantastic. Joel, your turn. Do you have any instruments you're going to play?
I like to play the music on my phone, but that's my only instrument.
I play acoustic guitar very badly every once in a while, and I'm not nearly as talented as these two gentlemen. They're going to play some more for us as we do our interview here. And we're going to talk about the stories of each of them, how they came to the Greenmarket. And but first, a very important disclaimer. Our little studio is located inside Respectable Street, and tonight there's a great industrial pop band called Aesthetic Perfection, and there's a backup musician, Josie Pace. They're both great. They'll be performing tonight. The doors open at 8. Come on out. It's going to be another great show here, but there's a chance that we, John, Steve, Joel, and myself, and you, our listeners, you may hear them performing their sound check. They're setting up outside, getting ready for the show. So you might hear the background music. It might get loud. And it's, again, one of the many charms of doing a radio show at a music venue at 5 o'clock on a Friday. Okay, I don't know. Maybe you guys can audition for them. Do you think industrial pop bands, maybe they could use a violinist and a trumpet player?
Sounds like they're kind of loud.
I think that's accurate.
Hey, John, tell us about that beautiful instrument you have there. What is that, a Stradivarius?
Well, it's a Stradivarius model, as so many are, because Stradivarius didn't know how to make these things. But actually, this is an Albert Knorr, made in 1924, and she's a full-fledged violin, and she's worth quite a bit of money, I found out recently.
Really? How long ago did you get it, and what did you pay for it?
This was a gift. I've had this well over 20 years, about almost going on 30 years, I guess. It was a gift to me from a good friend. Had a couple. He had a couple. Another friend got another one of them, and I got one.
Okay, I'm curious. You opened the door a bit. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to share. What is it? What's it worth, or what are they?
I recently I was playing, and my sound post popped out.
Oh,
son.
no.
So I had to go to a shop and get a new sound post cut in. They did a wonderful job on that. So I should be good for another 20, 30 years now. Yeah, he estimated this thing at $20,000.
It's a beautiful instrument.
It's almost 100 years old.
Wow.
She
Made in-
sounds great.
Made in Germany.
Germany.
Yeah. Technical question: is it a fiddle or is it a violin?
It's a violin.
Period.
Period.
Oh.
Yeah. But I'm a fiddler. I'm not a violinist.
Isn't there an old joke about the fiddles, a violinist and beer, or what? How does that go?
Oh, well, yeah, let's see. You don't spill beer on a violin.
All right, so you're a fiddler then.
I'm a fiddler, yeah. And I say I can read music, but not enough to hurt me.
But if you've heard him at the Greenmarket, and he's going to play a little bit for us in a few minutes, I think he could play at Carnegie Hall, but that's just me. All right, what about that? Is that a trumpet or a horn?
That's a trumpet, they're all horns. There's a whole bunch of horns. But I was in grammar school and high school. I did play the trumpet, but I could never read music because I'm dyslexic. And a dyslexic, they didn't have the term dyslexia back then. You were just so dumb. But the one thing about that disability is everything is slow, and music isn't. So if you tried to think about following the music, you just couldn't possibly keep up. So I've been playing by my ear ever since I started to play, which is almost an advantage because you can be more creative. You're not limited to the note that you have to play next. So you can be you can live a little and you can have a little more fun with it. I hadn't played for years and years and years, and my wife, as a lot of women do, she decided to not be married anymore. She wanted her own life. So I became a bachelor, like 45 years old. So I was bored silly. So I picked up, not this trumpet, but another trumpet at a Goodwill place for $7, and I started to play. I ended up I'm also a sailor, and I teach sailing. I'm on Nantucket Island, which is this rich little island, and I'm just practicing, and I see this kid playing the kazoo on Main Street. A kazoo, which and he's got like 30 or 40 bucks in this bucket. I said, "You make that tonight?" And he said, "Yeah." So I said, "You have to have a license?" So I half of my $50 that I had for my life, I paid for this license, and that started me off on playing on the street. And I enjoy two things most about playing on the street. First of all, it's the only real honest way of playing, and because people are either going to like you and tip, or they're going to walk right by. So,
Wow.
do I have to be closer?
We'll get to that. John, tell me your background. Like you're a professional musician. You played in bands.
Yeah, I
Talk
played
about
bands since
that.
the 10th grade.
Charlie Daniels or who?
I played some Charlie Daniels. I played in country bands over the years, but I was really drawn to the bluegrass because it's acoustic music. You know, some of the country bands I had, these guys had big drum sets. And I swear I got tinnitus from. I used to be right next to the crash cymbal. This country's supposed to be pretty simple on the drum,
Yeah.
but this boy, he had a bunch of drums and he used them all.
What's the first band that you were in?
Oh, geez, that's too far to remember.
Yeah,
That'd be difficult. I think my first high school band was called The Missing Link.
But I remember on our interview earlier this year, I thought you'd said you played some guitar out of high school and then you hit the road and you wound up in West Virginia as a caretaker on a farm.
Yes.
And did that kind of put you on the road to the fiddle?
I was already sold on bluegrass music, and I knew it was very popular down there in West Virginia. And just about every little holler has a fiddle player, and most families got somebody in the family that plays. So I would make it a point of going out and meeting all the local players, and I'd play guitar behind the fiddle players. And then a neighbor, her mom died, and in the closet they found a fiddle, and she said, "John, would you like this fiddle?" And I said, "Yeah." So that was my first fiddle. And
How old were you?
I was 27.
27.
27.
Wow.
And I was living alone, so that's how I was able to learn to teach myself to play the violin, because learning this thing, you know, and the bow, I mean,
Oh, that's wonderful.
you know, I mean, it'll drive you nuts. It just takes so long to play. So I lived alone, and I drove the animals crazy. I mean, they couldn't get far enough away from me, but in a year's time, I taught myself to play to where I went back to Pennsylvania, sat in with the band, and they hired me, and that was Potbelly Stove.
Oh, wow. Hey, so play something real quick. Like, what do you think one of the earliest songs that you first learned, and it's an old go-to classic?
Well, never marry an old man, I'll tell you the reason why. His lips are full of tobacco juice, and he never zips his fly. And never marry a young girl, I'll tell you the reason why. She'll hide your boots and burn your food and sleep with another guy.
All
Very
right.
good.
Tag you're it, Steve.
Okay.
Play like one of the first songs that you learned that you like to play on the street, just like John did.
Well, I'm going to use my Shandi one, you know, because there's a pretty girl over here by the name of Shandi. You see her?
Where is she?
Shandi, have you ever had a song especially written for you?
Never.
Yeah, she's a bit of rough. Yeah, that's better.
She's not that good looking.
Well, I can do that. I wrote this song about 15 years ago, and I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to sing it for you. How's that?
All right.
Pretty good. That's the song.
Fantastic. So I want to ask you each, starting with John, like, how did you both find the Greenmarket? John, how did you end up learning that there's a Greenmarket that you could have an audience to play?
Well, I used to come here as my kickoff point to go over to the Bahamas. A lot of boats going to the Bahamas come here for that reason in particular. So I would come here and wait for a weather window, and sometimes it'd take a month. So I'd be hanging out here, and so I did discover the market. I didn't think about playing on the street, but at one point I saw some buskers out there, and I thought, oh, give it a shot. Yeah, I did okay. And then the market worked out to be very well. I think I saw these guys first. You were there first. And so then I started playing, and COVID knocked us out for a couple years there. And now the city's giving us a little trouble, but
The city?
we're trying to get by.
So, Steve, so you were playing the Greenmarket before John was. When did you arrive, and how did you learn, hey, I can play at the Greenmarket?
We've been playing it since it opened, you know.
Years ago.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
years ago. It wasn't really, we weren't playing down here. We were playing at the end of Clematis, just up. Anyway, but it wasn't very lucrative. There wasn't that much traffic. Of course, there is now. We have a great audience right at this point. I mean, you got traffic, hundreds and hundreds of people. So I play with a 90-year-old Korean vet, and he plays guitar. And You know, he pulls a lot of the traffic in because he does his Korean hat and his Korean story.
He's from
So-
Korea, right?
Yeah, he's from Korea. But it's tough for him right now because he's in bad health. Both knees are gone. But the big problem we have now is they've stopped us from playing because you can't play with an amplifier anymore in the city. They made an ordinance. You can't play with an amplifier.
The noise ordinance.
Yeah, no, but it should be. I understand the ordinance because, like, you wouldn't want that out on the street. You know, people couldn't talk. But I'm fighting them right now because music is the First Amendment. It's your right. It's a speech, right? And we went through this 2 years ago, and we won our battle. But then they changed the ordinance. So I don't know if we're going to be playing, but we'll find another place.
Well, what happened 2 years ago, that first battle? Tell us about that.
Well, they came and stopped us the same way as I did this year. And I said, well, I got to be able to go and get a permit. Most towns, that's what they do. You go to the town hall and they give you a permit. It costs money. And so I did. I went up there and they said, we don't have any ordinance that. And they're the ones that told me it's a First Amendment thing. You don't need a license and you don't need any kind of permission to play, as long as you're not interfering with anybody. So these streets belong to us. We should be able to play on them. And they're giving us a hassle. I'm fighting them right now about it.
When you talk about an amplifier, is it like what we're hearing?
No,
behind us? Is it
it's just little
handheld?
little handed,
Tell us about
little battery operated. And see, when you're playing a guitar and I'm playing a trumpet, it's really hard for the guitar player to tune in because your ear has to be in sync. So I'm blowing him away no matter how I try and get my trumpet to behave.
Yeah, you got the mute in.
He's getting really frustrated with playing. So he's got a beautiful guitar with a small amplifier that they're saying is against the city ordinance.
So the city recently passed an ordinance updating their noise ordinance, and that's what we're referring to?
Yeah.
So did they shut you down? Did they make you go away?
Yeah.
Hey, who was they? Who approaches you?
The cops.
The cops.
And
Is it-
he
is it
wasn't
the
nice.
police or is it the yellow
No,
jersey
no.
security?
So it's the first year was a security department, and they went up to City Hall. I said, go to City Hall. And they did, and they came back and apologized. They said, you're right, you can play. But the old ordinance has a decimal in it that you're not supposed to exceed. And that's where it should be. But you can't just say all amplifiers, because our amplifier, you wouldn't even know we had it on, to be honest with you.
Do you think they're targeting music or some other free speech?
I think they don't want, I think they want to be in control, that's all. I think, I think it's about money because these people that buy all these tents and set up, a couple $100 for 3 hours. It's almost $100 an hour they're paying. They resent us because we're not paying anything. So they're complaining to the city. They should get a tent too. But it's not about a tent. I guess that's what they did, is they made this ordinance so it would deplete us. But John and I are told that we can't even play anywhere on that block.
John, are you amplified also?
No,
Negative. Just like this.
So why can't you play?
because he said so.
If they approached you, John, have they approached you and if they have?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
I've been.
what's your experience? Like, when was the last time and what did the cops say?
Well, the first week I got here, I showed up at the market, played where I usually do, and the motorcycle cop there at the corner, same guy that
Same
we
guy.
dealt with, he came and told me I can't play. Says the market has the whole block, and I got to go somewhere else.
But last year, it seemed like you were part of the Greenmarket. People were dropping your tips in. They were thanking
People
you.
love me. Even this last week and this week, the vendors right across the street came over and chipped me and appreciated it. God, was just great. You're great. We're really enjoying this. My son's, his mom and son, they said the son's a musician. He thinks you're fabulous. And they came over to thank me.
as
It was entertainment for the morning.
as they were kicking me out, the cop was approached by one of our people that enjoy our music. He said, "What are you telling him? We all enjoy their music. You know, we're going to be playing Christmas carols in the next month. You know." Well, no. See, they made up the ordinance to get rid of us. That's what they did.
Let me reintroduce ourselves. We are the reporters, maybe the reporters on Clematis, we don't know yet. And that's Joe Capozzi with iJoeCapozzi.com and Joel Engelhardt at OnGardens.org. We're brought to you by Subculture Group, and we're here with John Ace and Steve Ostrander.
Very good.
And I bet Joe wants to mention that we invited the city to be here to answer the questions that they are raising. And
Yeah, I did. I sent emails to Mary Pinnock, I think her name is. I didn't get a reply, and I sent another round of emails to the, I think it's their public relations or their media office, and didn't hear back. And anyway, it would have been nice if they could have been here just to explain themselves a little more. So are you, Steve, you're under the impression that the vendors complained that you guys are there for free and they have to pay a fee for a tent?
There's two. You got to understand what's happened here. This near the entrance of the food mart. Okay, they didn't have tents at all last year on that whole block that they do now, and that's about money. That's about renting space.
which block are we talking about?
From the first one, the first
100 block.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Right by the park in downtown West Palm Beach.
Right. That's and they, you know, one of the reasons they didn't want us to sell with they hire their own musician for inside the food mart. So they were saying, well, you're just being competition. We're not competition. You
So
know,
who were their musicians that they hire for inside?
they
I thought you two were.
no. They pay money. I mean, a couple of $100 for a guitar player or whatever. It's different each week. They have a different musician each week.
Probably, I'm not sure, but they may be running through a management company.
It could be.
Where are they set up? How come I never see them?
All
I
the
see
way
you
down.
guys,
Near the food court.
Yeah, way down
like
the
by
end.
the water fountain.
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
the water.
Yeah, down, closer to the waterfront, kind of in the middle of that park area.
So what is the impact on your income when they do this to you?
Oh, Joe and I were last year making between $300 and $400 in 3 hours, which is better than I could find anywhere else, you know. And we'd be getting $20 and $30 tips. We have their kids dancing, and they're having a good time. You know, we got a little show going. You know, and I do my trivia too. So
Same question to you?
I've been making that kind of money, and I said the kids dance. You know, I get a gathering around me and stuff. It's very rewarding to me, and it's become a good source of income. You know, one that I want to keep going.
So what happened to you on Saturday? Because I saw you Saturday and it looked like you were in your old spot. No one was hassling you. But that was 10 a.m. Was it?
That was about just before noon. A different cop came up and told me I had to stop.
What'd you say?
I told him I'll comply with you, but I want to tell you I don't like this. This isn't right. You really have no right to kick me off. I'm public. This is a public sidewalk. And he said, well, you know, we can't have any amplifiers and stuff. And I'm like, duh.
So what's your game plan for this Saturday? What are you both going to do?
I talked to the Harris store there, the Clematis News Mart, right down there next to where the ale house used to be. I used to have permission from the manager of the ale house, A1A ale house, and I had permission from Peter at the Clematis store to play in that area. So, and they love me. So, you know, yeah, you can, you know, security gives you a problem, tell them to come and see me. So Peter's gone, he died last year, but I went in and talked to the lady running it, and that's Rosa. And she said, oh yeah, you're welcome, you can play there. So I'm gonna move 6 feet up the block and stand in front of the store instead of in front of the now vacant ale house. Instead of playing in front of a vacant store where they don't want me to play, I'll play in front of an occupied business, and they got clothes racks out on the sidewalk. I mean, they can use this. That's their sidewalk for one thing. I mean, they lease that building or whatever, or own it. They own the sidewalk in front of it.
So when the authorities both hassle you guys, does it get close to do you get indignant and my freedom of speech, does it come close to getting arrested, or does it not get to
2
that
weeks
point?
ago, the cop, he got pissed off at you. He said, "You're getting aggressive." He said, "I'm not going to talk to you anymore." And he stormed
And I
off.
was, because he said, "Is there an ordinance?" So I said, "I want to see it." And he had it. And we walked up the street, and he showed me the ordinance. And second paragraph, it says, "We cannot interfere with free speech." And I said, "Right there is your ordinance."
And what did he say?
He said, "I'm not going to read that. You bring that up with the mayor's office," which I did. I went to city council. Mayor wouldn't talk to me. He doesn't talk to anybody. That's why I'm, upset with him. But I get upset with everything. My son says I get upset with everything.
I do too.
But listen, he put me on an assistant city manager. Well, I don't know how you become an assistant city manager, but
You rise through the ranks.
but he promised to look into this and get back to me. That was 2 weeks ago. So now I'm really kind of upset. So I'm calling and saying, "Where's this callback?"
You have a place to live, right? You're not a homeless guy, right?
No, I'm not a homeless guy.
So he could get a hold of you. You have a phone. You have a.
I gave him my home. He promised to get back to me. He was going to try and negotiate a spot for me on the block where the flea market people are. But that flea market guy, I guess, doesn't want any music. And how does he own the street?
The 45th Street Flea Market.
No.
No,
The flea market is
300 block.
300 block.
yeah, it like bleeds into the green market. Where the green market ends, then the flea market sets up.
See, I was there
You
when
gotta
that.
get out of Palm Beach Gardens and come down here on Saturdays.
Not going to happen.
Well, see, we started on this before this was big at all, and he didn't want us on his block. His block. I mean, I'm saying, well, how does it his block? So he was getting money from all of these people to set up on Clematis Street, and he's still doing. He's still getting away with it. And so my manager says, I know, this assistant manager says he knows him real well. He'll talk to you so you'll be able to play in there. No, he doesn't want any music. He doesn't want anyone. He's got this thing under control. He's making a lot of money. So we had to play around this corner. We couldn't play on his block when we first started to play. But anyway, it's a little upsetting.
Is it time for a musical interlude?
Actually, let's start with Steve and play something that expresses what you think about the cops when they hassle you.
Well, I'd rather sing my song to Shandy because she's so pretty over there, and I wrote it for her.
Joel, you should have at least worn a wig.
And I told you I'd sing it for you.
Sing it.
So. Oh, Shandy, you make me feel so good, Shandy. You know you always could. So little Shandy, what makes you fly so high it wants to make me cry. You fly so high, so very high, just like a bird up in the sky. You are so young, so very young, to fly so high. So little Shandy, you can make me feel real glad, yet Shandy, you can make me feel real mad. So Shandy, I only hope you know how hard the winds can really blow. They blow so strong, so very long, sometimes they sound like a song. You had no fears, had no tears when things went wrong. So little Shandy, I'll always wish you well. Good fortune, for yes, time will tell. But I wish you would shave.
So,
Glad you guys are separated.
so how much does that little number get you in tips? You get a couple of nickels and dimes, or how does that work?
The last year, the last time we played, we got 3 $100 tips, and mostly from women. It's interesting. And most of them, some women start to cry in the middle of that. It's unbelievable how that song affects women. And a lot of 20s. And it's hard to get a 20, right? You don't get too many
Not too
20s.
many.
I mean, we get maybe 5 or 6 20s and a couple of hundreds. You've made a nice profit. That they're taking money out of my pocket saying I can't do.
John, what's the biggest tip? Couple memorable tips you've gotten.
Oh, I've never had the $100 bills. I'm jealous now. $50 was the most I've made, and the 20s, yeah, they're few and far between too. But on a good day, I'll fill up the bucket, and I don't care what the nominations they are. You know, if I'm getting up for $200, $300, $400, that's great.
But this year hasn't been good so far, but it's still early.
It's still early, yeah.
Yeah.
The volume isn't up.
But I'm guessing when you're playing there, like between songs, where's my tips? You don't check your tip bucket
No.
until the end of the show, right?
Pretty much.
And you're like, holy cow, here's a 20. Oh,
I
here's a $1. That must have been from Joe.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah.
I chased the 100 when it blew out and it was running down.
Oh,
the drain.
jeez. Yeah.
But you don't get $100 tips that often. You really don't. But it shows you how some people are affected by music, you know.
Yeah.
And now that song, just a little history, it wasn't supposed to be about a woman at all. It was supposed to be about the sea. I was sailing down here from New England, and somewhere off in North Carolina, the music came in my head, but I couldn't get the words to go with the music. So I'm sitting with Shandi one morning. I said, you got to help me with this, words. And we worked on it for about a half hour. And she looked at me, and she said, write it about me. I wrote that whole song, and it's not easy. I mean, that's a complicated song. I wrote that whole thing in 15 minutes with her sitting next to me. It was all about her. Her high.
You're like John Lennon. He wrote songs that quick.
I don't understand how I can't read, write music at all, and how I can write music, combination of the music and the words. It's amazing when you think about it. Where does it come from?
John, it's your turn, man. You got to give us a little taste. Give us a little interlude. I don't know. Are you feeling Cotton Eye Joe, or do you have something else that you would like to go?
I got about 50 tunes under my belt.
The anger music.
The anger music. Young men, get off the street. You can.
You know the name of that one, Joe? That's Whiskey Before Breakfast.
Whiskey Before Breakfast.
Right,
I
right.
love
heard the
that.
Star Spangled Banner in there.
Yeah, I always say if you're going to drink all day, you have to start in the morning.
I love it. Now, how could just listening to both of you a minute ago, like how did the cops? Who are you bothering? You're bothering no one. I mean,
Well,
if it was like,
I don't know, I'm going to keep fighting it like you are.
My
and
son
I'm glad
says,
to
and
know
my
him.
son always gives me good advice. He says, you need a letter from a lawyer interfering with my First Amendment, freedom of speech, and we're going to sue them. And then all of a sudden, the ordinance will change. Because they've got a confused ordinance, because on one hand it says you can't have an amplifier. On another hand, they have a whole pamphlet that says it can't exceed this decimal. but how do you get a decimal? How do you read the decimal? So that's what I'm going to ask when I meet with this manager.
Well, they have decibel meters. They could come out there on the street and just and test
That's
it.
what I said. They should test it.
So yeah, come on out, test me.
But
And the level has to be somewhere like 80,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
100, you know, and I don't think we come close to that.
Oh, no, we don't.
And plus, you play with Joe. He's a Korean War veteran.
Yeah.
And you're a Vietnam veteran, right,
Yes,
John?
sir. I'm
And-
a little younger.
But I just thought they would, the unwritten rule, or to, show some respect to the veterans and look the other way. I mean, you're not hassling people.
There's a
you're
girl right up here.
entertainment.
There's a girl 100 yards from where we sit. It's all set up with an amplifier and a guitar. It's just up here on the right-hand side. So it depends upon who you know. This cop just doesn't like my attitude, and I don't like his. And I'm not good with bad attitudes. He was like this Rambo guy with a gun, that's on his Harley.
Wow.
You can't play here. I said, we've been playing here for 7 years. Well, you can't play anymore.
So has it been worse this year? Like, did you guys get hassled the year before or the year before that, or does this year stick out for some reason?
No, it's the mayor that's here is just about making money, and that's what this is all about. Because they get maybe between $200 and $300 a little tent, and there's a dozen of them. And I don't know what other dealers they've got, and who gets that money? Is it the market? I was very unclear. I asked that question, which they don't like to hear. I don't know. It has nothing to do with this ordinance.
So how many buskers are there in and around the Greenmarket? I know you two and Joe.
That's
Are there
about it.
more?
No, there really isn't.
And you both told me something I wasn't aware of, that the Greenmarket hires music that's in the heart of the Green.
Mhm.
And I can't remember ever seeing those guys. And I think a lot of people are like me, where they stroll through the Greenmarket every Saturday and they pick up their vegetables and their flowers, and they pass you on the fiddle and they pass the trumpet player, and they think you're part of it and they look forward to hearing it. I mean, the girl we met earlier this year when I did the story, she's like, I come just to see him. I get produce too, but I want to see the fiddler.
Yeah, she was great.
I'm surprised that it's gotten to this point and that someone from the city can't step in on a compromise.
It's like the whole issue of homeless. They're not addressing that. The poor homeless girl that went by me the other day said when the hurricane was coming, she couldn't get into a shelter.
Was that young girl?
Yeah.
Okay.
blonde.
Yeah.
I fell in love with her, I think. It might have been last. I'm not sure what it was. But anyway, I thought she was going to come back and talk to me because she sang with us. Incidentally, we encourage people to do that.
Sure.
And so anyway, we're just entertainers. That's all we are. And we wouldn't be there unless we were appreciated. I wouldn't be playing unless you got feedback from the audience that you're really good.
Yeah. If your tip buckets are full, that means that they don't like you. That doesn't mean that they don't like you.
Oh, well, that's
So
really,
it's
that's against the rule too, That's against their ordinance. We're not supposed to take tips. Did you know that? We're not supposed to take.
But that violates. busking. That's part of busking, right? And that's a free.
That is
that's
busking.
right?
Yeah, there's we're not asking.
They're not hassling us for that. They're hassling us primarily for the amplifier, which we had hidden for the last season in the bushes, and no one bothered.
Good for you.
We did.
But I don't. I've heard Joe play. I've heard you. I don't even think you need an amplifier.
Well, he only needs it because of his ear on tuning in with me.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, I mean, I overpower him, so he's trying to tune into what I'm playing with a steel strings, and he's got a really nice, guitar.
So the amplifier's helping this 90-year-old Korean War veteran keep pace with you. He can hear you and he can perform better. And the city's saying, no, that violates the noise ordinance.
And it's not like a young rock and roller with an electric guitar or something.
That was you years ago, right?
This was he's very he's well below whatever their decibel ceiling
and
is.
He's such a nice guy too, and I've had other issues with the city right now, but I don't want to get into them.
So You were at the Greenmarket before John arrived,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm curious, like when the Fiddler arrived, what was your reaction like? Get off my turf? Or
Not at
what's
all.
it like?
Not at all. But we respect each other's skill, and we know there has to be space. The only problem we came up a couple weeks ago because we had a spot that he kind of, it was a good spot for you. The first one, I said, well, I'll play across the street.
Well, the
And-
corner.
Yeah, on the corner.
Well, I
But-
hadn't even got my fiddle out until we talked.
Right, exactly.
I knew who you were.
And I said, I'll go over the other side of the street, but I was right in the sun and I couldn't play. I played for about a half hour and I'm sweating and I'm saying I wasn't feeling good anyway. So, but it's always a respect. You have to give space in between musicians in order to get along. And musicians want to get along. There was only one musician that played the violin out on Nantucket, and he played with a great big amplifier. And he played beautifully, and he drove everybody crazy. So they put the amplifier in there, and he left the city. He said, I won't play without my amplifier. And they said, good.
Let me reintroduce y'all. You're listening to The Reporters on Subculture Radio, brought to you by Subculture Group. I'm Joel Englehart from ongardens.org, and this is
Joe Capozzi from buyjoecapozzi.com.
And our guests today are John Ace and Steve Ostrander.
And John
Very
Ace,
good.
John Ace plays the.
Fiddle.
They can't hear that.
Violin. Violin. That's what that is, a violin.
John Ace plays the. And Steve Ostrander plays the instrument
It's
known as.
it's a trumpet. It's a trumpet.
I don't.
I've heard of it.
Felt like I was on Bourbon Street for a second there. I love it. So, what is the reaction from? Thousands of people are at the Greenmarket on Saturday, and probably the majority, like you're like a brick in the wall where they just walk right. They walk.
Oh,
right
the
past you,
majority just walk
know?
by,
Yeah.
and
But you do catch someone's attention, and I bet you they stop. They're on their way somewhere, and they're gonna listen to you
Well,
for a little bit.
what John said was true. You have a following. A lot of people that come to the market want to come and listen to and they want to come and dance with Joe and I. And they want to listen to all my trivia, which you don't like. I know. No one likes it. Sorry. But anyway, we're entertainers. That's who we are. We're entertainers.
I can't tell you how many times I see the phones come out and they're taking pictures of me, they're videoing me,
That's right.
and they thank you, and give me a tip. But I mean, all the time they're.
You add to the street panache.
That's right.
The atmosphere,
We-
more
we-
than the atmosphere.
But they don't want it. The city doesn't want it.
They don't need it,
They don't need it.
but they shouldn't have the right to stop it.
That's right. And I've just begun to fight. I've got. I'm supposed to get another call back, but I told the lady I'm not going to get a call back. The guy would have called me by now. He doesn't have a solution to this. And she got all.
Well, he couldn't do anything by himself anyway. You'd have to go up to his higher ups, and he doesn't want to sit there and argue for you because you're nobody. I'm nobody.
But
And nobody cares.
But would
City Hall.
I'm not there when the argument's going on, but and you said sometimes it gets testy. Do you think the cop really would go to the all right, put the cuffs on him?
Yeah,
you think it would
they'd
come to
arrest me. And I wouldn't mind being arrested, to be honest with you, because that would really give me a case if they arrest me. And he was indicating that. He said, your attitude is really bad. And I said, yeah, it is. You're stopping me from doing business. Well, it's only the ordinance. He said, I'm just doing my job. And I said, you're doing a shitty job.
Did you say that?
Yeah, I said, I don't like your attitude. You don't have to be Rambo, I didn't call him Rambo, but that's what I was indicating. He's a little overweight.
You weren't that bad, but
No.
he didn't like it at all.
No.
He's the authority, and
I notice he's not there, though, so that would tell you if they put him somewhere else.
yeah, there was a different cop there last week, and he was nice. He was nice, but he still got me off.
Right across the street from where we used to play, we have a handicap sticker on my car with Joe, and we're pulling into the handicap spot, and there's a city vehicle like the one that does the watering of the flowers or something. So I couldn't fit in the spot. So my back tires are outside of the unmarked parking area. So I got a $70 ticket. So I said, they'll understand this. They're not going to give me a $70 ticket. I'm a 80-year-old man, and we have the ticket. We have the handicap thing. You were parked on the sidewalk. Well, I wasn't parked on the sidewalk. I said, I wouldn't park on the sidewalk. Well, that's what the ticket says, so you've got to pay it. So I was on my way up to New England, so I had to pay it. I'm like an old dog with an old bone. I just won't let it go.
Good for you.
So I'm still fighting him on that. So, but they $70 for, and where do they get the figures? $70 for parking on the sidewalk, I can see, but I wasn't on the sidewalk.
Jeez. So, what's going to happen? So this Saturday, if people listening to this show for the first time and they never went to the Greenmarket and they want to see you guys, so they'll see you this Saturday?
No, I'm going to play at Albie's up on Okeechobee because friends of mine have done very well up there. I may not come back here if we can make enough money up there. I don't want to hassle with this. I don't want to talk about the assistant manager, all of this crap. I don't want to do it. It's going to be their laws.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to. That's what I told you. You don't want our music, then I guess we can't play. But I said, I don't know who you're hurting. I mean, you don't like the music, but a lot of people do.
What about you, John?
Oh, I'll be playing. I'll be here Saturday. Like I said, I'm going to play in front of the Clematis News store.
Clematis. No, that's right. You got the permission.
And I
from
got
the
permission.
owner.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting to see if
they
they
like
make an effort, if the cops make an effort to remove you from the stoop where you have permission to play.
Well, see, to remove me is a whole different thing either. What if I just don't play? I just hold the fiddle and till he walks away, and then I'll fiddle a little bit or something. I mean, can he arrest me because I played the fiddle on the street? Is that an arrestable offense?
That's a good. Yeah. What's the difference between playing the fiddle on the street and standing there with the fiddle in your hand, not playing?
I don't know. I'm a citizen. I'm even a resident of Florida. United
City
States
Hall,
citizen, veteran.
City Hall has a restaurant facing Clematis Street. They have a Mexican guy that plays Mexican music as loud as you can be. And I explained that. I said, how can that be? Oh, they're connected with the restaurant. That's perfectly legal. I said, how does it make the ordinance against amplifiers legal? It's a city ordinance.
Yeah.
Well, they've got permission. So we all got to get permission, I
John,
guess.
I got to ask you something. So I understand that you live on a boat, and
Yeah.
you've been living on a boat for quite some time. And as a landlubber, I have to wonder, when you're sleeping every night on a boat and you kind of got the waves, the motion of the ocean, how does it feel when you go back and forth between the land and the boat? I mean, how do you reconcile that?
Well, I've been on the boat so long. When I walk around the boat, everything's pretty close, so I usually got a hand on something. And I don't walk, without having a hand on something because the boat could roll at any time, and I don't want to fall over and get hurt. So that's translated when I'm on the street walking down the middle of the sidewalk and there's nothing to touch or anything. I walk like I'm drunk.
Do you sleep in a hammock?
No, I have a wonderful bunk, very, very comfortable.
And it lulls you
Right
to
under
sleep,
the star,
huh?
I can open my hatch, I see the stars.
It's wonderful.
But yeah, and I also had a little neck injury So that affected my balance a little bit too. But
Yeah, I think last spring, if I remember correctly, didn't you slice your finger? You were getting some bread out, and you had the next day at the Greenmarket.
I was wrapped up. I'm okay now. I'm okay. Yeah, that was right there. I'm okay.
And you've taken your boat all over the world, all over the
Well,
Caribbean?
not all over the world. I've been to 7 countries on my boat. I've been as far as Guatemala, to Belize, Mexico, Honduras, Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Mexico,
Wow, so
Bahamas.
You tour the Caribbean.
Oh, I've been farther in the Caribbean, but not on my boat. Mostly I would winter in the Bahamas, but I haven't been back there since COVID.
hey, so when you're docked out here at night, are you in the middle? Where's the Are you closer to Palm Beach, or are you closer to the West Palm docks?
I'm pretty close to the seawall. I'm between the 2 town docks. And I found
okay.
a nice spot in there because I'm out of the current.
And do you ever practice that thing at night?
Oh, I
Where,
do.
Like if
I
I'm
do.
walking down at night, I might hear you.
Oh, I
from-
can play on the back
Oh,
deck, and you'd
wow.
hear me on the street, sure.
Wow.
But Bradley's, they get going at night.
Oh, yeah.
They drown everything out there.
So, and I gotta ask, man, we didn't even get the brunt of that hurricane last week or a week and a half
No, it wasn't
ago.
that bad.
So what
it was
was-
long.
What
mean,
was
we
it
had
like being
days.
out there?
It was rough.
Do you take extra Dramamine, or what do you do?
No, I haven't gotten seasick.
Wow. And have you been on that boat in worse storms than what we had? a
I
week ago?
have. Yeah, I was in a thunderstorm right out there in the harbor where we had 80-mile-an-hour winds that knocked over boats that were in the boatyard
Oh wow.
down here at I forget
Cracker
the name.
Boy.
Cracker Boy's boatyard. Yeah, a couple boats got knocked over. The winds were so strong. I was terrified, but my anchor held. The anchor held, and I was okay.
So you'll be here till the end of the Greenmarket, knock on wood, and then you'll
Yeah,
go
that's
back
what
north to
that's
Virginia.
That's been my plan. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll play the last market song. I'm still playing, and then head back up there. And I got a band I play up with.
And let's give them a nod. What do they call?
That's a King Street Bluegrass Band out of Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, wow.
We just completed our 2nd album. You can find us online at kingstreetbluegrass.com. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora.
Can't wait till I see you play Respectable Street.
Yeah, there's a stage right next to us here. That would be
And
different.
I'm also playing with a couple girls down here. We're called the Gypsy String Revival. And they're a couple local girls. One's up in Jupiter. The other one's down in Lake Worth. And I'm right in the middle.
And give us details. Where can we see you? Is there a website?
We're playing at the Garden City Cafe a week from today.
Where is that?
Garden City.
In New Jersey, huh?
No. It's a little bit north of here.
Palm Beach Gardens, perhaps?
Yeah, Palm Beach Gardens.
Garden City
Yeah,
Cafe. I don't know that. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
And
Nice little bar restaurant. It's a small joint.
and there's no website or a Facebook page where.
I'm sure they do.
Wow. Yeah.
And I know the girls do have a Facebook page, and they advertise. So the name is the Gypsy String Revival.
Okay, yeah, we're almost time to wrap up. But real quick, how did that come about? Did they see
She
you
saw me on the street. One of the girls saw me on the street
at the Greenmarket?
at the market, yeah, and says, "Hey, do you ever, come out and jam with some people?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love jamming."
Fantastic.
So she invited me up, and I went up, and that was last year, and we did about half a dozen jobs last year, and hopefully we'll get some this year.
So, Joel, do you have any other burning questions off the top of your head?
No, but
I'm
I
just-
wouldn't mind hearing a little bit more
Yeah, I was
music.
wondering if we could kill the last 5 minutes or so. If you guys want to collaborate on some kind of a jam or.
Well, we don't really ever play together, really.
It's the first time for everything.
How about Christmas? Do you do any Christmas carols?
Sure,
All right.
go for it. I'll back you
You
up.
cover me. Let's see. What will we play? That
All
was
right.
That was
Rudolph.
catchy.
Trumpet
Huh?
plays in B flat,
Catchy.
and the fiddle keys are G, A, D, C.
And I
not
can't
too
play
much on
anything but what I got.
He's got the B flats.
Incidentally, this is over 100 years old, and
Yeah.
it was given to me
It's
as
been
a
around.
Besson, and I didn't know a thing about this trumpet until someone gave it to me, and the valves were stuck.
Mhm.
There's one thing you're never supposed to do with a trumpet is take a torch. I couldn't get them unstuck,
Wow.
but you're never supposed to take a
You try
torch.
spraying them with the WD-40?
I tried everything for weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So finally I took a torch and I got it going. And it's the most gorgeous sounding trumpet that I've ever played. So I look it up on the internet. They were the premier trumpet manufacturer of the world in 1850.
Whoa.
And it was made in France.
Wow.
There were 3 places that they made them: France, England, and New York. This is a New York one. It's only about 100 years old. But the New York one, they had a used one for $10,000.
Sweet.
So I just lucked out.
Besson, B-E-S.
B-S-S-O-N, Besson.
Wow.
My first
Besson.
instrument was the trumpet.
Was it really?
Yep.
Wow.
I played in high school band, marching band, and a concert band. But
Well,
I quit, and then my dad sold my instrument, and I couldn't play a note now. I couldn't tell you when. I couldn't finger anything.
Well, I'm the only trumpet player that you'll ever meet that plays with a French horn mouthpiece. And the
I
reason
wondered about that. Yeah, it
well,
didn't look like a
because it
standard
tones
note.
it down. People think a trumpet is too blaring when it's on the street. It's a little abrasive, it's a little sharp. It's
It
not good
violates
on
the
ears.
noise ordinance, right?
Right.
Tell that
So-
to the cop.
But the story behind it is wonderful because I'm out on Nantucket. I'm teaching sailing, and I see this guy with a kazoo. So I'm gonna strapping up. I'm gonna go on the street, and I row my rowboat in. And I get out to where I'm gonna play, and the mouthpiece that I had fell in the drink. So there I am.
God.
I'm sitting there with no mouthpiece. So I'm bummed out. A friend of mine walked by and says, "You look bummed out." And I says, "Yeah, I just spent $25 for this license and now I can't play." And he says, "Why don't you go up to my friend up in the high school? He was a band. He ran the band.
There you go.
He said, he's a trumpet player. He might get you a mouthpiece."
Mhm.
In the meantime, he said, let me see. I think I got a mouthpiece at home. And he came up with this.
Yeah.
He came back with this mouthpiece. And I've been playing with it ever since. The guy did give me a mouthpiece, but this is a very difficult thing to hit the high notes with. It was never designed with that, but it's got a great, easy tone to it. So anyway, that's the story.
That's a
But
great story.
there's an ending to this. I meet this guy and I say, "You're a young guy." He's a trumpet player, and I say to him, "I got a deal for you. I got a special deal for you." And he said, "Really?" He doesn't know if you're from Adam. I said, "I want to barter a trumpet mouthpiece for sailing lessons." And he said, "I can't believe you said that."
That's fair.
I said, "I can't." He said, "I can't believe that." He said, "The day before yesterday, he bought a 23-foot Kel's sailboat." He says he knows nothing about sailing. And how much for your lessons? I said, $300. So I walk out with the $300 plus the mouthpiece.
Okay.
Well done.
All right.
So it's time to say goodnight. We want to thank everyone for listening. We really enjoyed having you here.
Well, thanks, guys. We enjoyed being here too, and appreciate the offer.
We're signing off with John Ace and Steve Ostrander.
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 Checking.
He said he was just trying to.
And come out to the West Palm Beach Greenmarket tomorrow morning. You'll find John playing there, and maybe another weekend. Since our trumpeter in demand, he's got another gig tomorrow, but maybe he'll be back at the Greenmarket, and maybe it'll be a hassle-free performance.
I'm sure it will be.
This will be the reporters signing off. I'm Joel Englehart,
Joe Capozzi.
and we want to thank you again for listening in.
Bye, y'all.
All right.